Hi everyone, welcome to Decked. My name is Tyler, and with me today is my friend Ray.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing well.
So on Decked, we play card games, we play board games, we take we take video of ourselves doing it, and then sometimes Ray and I come back and we record a little commentary for you to talk about how the game went. In this case, I am playing Call of Cthulhu with a third friend of ours, Rod, while we're taking a break from a tournament that was held at Black Moon Games a couple weeks ago. So it's going to be a little sort of a different sort of matchup because I played this, Ray didn't, and I don't know if Ray's ever actually played against the deck that Rod's using either.
No, I haven't.
This is it's a Yog-Sothoth mono faction deck that started off with Rod playing with the Gug subtype, but now it's really more about milling cards. It was always about milling cards, but the Gugs sort of fell by the wayside because Rod had discovered that they don't really synergize with each other.
Yeah, they really don't.
No. I mean, the Gugs all have a similar gimmick in that wound a Gug to do a thing, or after a Gug takes a wound, do a thing. But it's not like one Gug responds to another Gug being wounded or a thing like that.
Right. Rod is very appropriately playing his Yog-Sothoth deck in purple sleeves.
Right. He likes to go thematic with his sleeve colors, I think. He has a Cthulhu deck in green, as I recall. No, his Deep One deck is in black. Maybe because he likes to make it night.
Maybe.
And on the left, I'm playing Rebirth of the Cult, which was my tournament deck for the day. And if you've seen recent episodes of Deck, you'll know that's the deck I've been playing. It's a Cthulhu Shub-Niggurath combination deck that was designed by a card game DB user named Obtuse. And it's generally been a lot of fun because it keys off cultists and Night and Day a fair bit. And in these games, we usually flip to see who goes first. I did not catch who flipped, but we can tell that I elected to go. I wound up going first either way that it went.
Yes.
And I am wrong. This is not Rebirth of the Cult.
I was about to say, I don't think you're playing Rebirth of the Cult.
I've been saying that out of sheer habit. This is Ancient Rites, which is a mono Cthulhu deck that is based in part on a sample deck that was published during the run-up to the Sleeper Below box set, which featured the Cthulhu faction. Just so used to playing Rebirth of the Cult.
I would like to point out, as this is just a fun game in between the tournament and all that stuff, I would like to congratulate Tyler on winning the tournament.
Oh, thank you.
He went 3-0 to my 0-3.
Mm.
But
Thus balance is maintained.
Thus balance is maintained, but we had a lot of fun, and I know all the people that were in the tournament because there was a whopping 4 of us, but still I'm glad that Tyler won. So.
Well, thanks. I would point out this is the I cannot say that. It is not the biggest Cthulhu tournament that New Hampshire has seen, because there was a previous tournament held at another location in the area that was 4 players.
I'm sad now.
So we tied.
There is no tying in Cthulhu.
Well, maybe we were all fast.
Yeah, everybody was fast. That's it. I have no idea what Rod has played here.
He's got a Cannibal Gassed out, and I believe that's a Tunnel Lurker.
Ah, fair enough. And you have...
I'm working out who that is.
Fair enough.
It's someone cheap, clearly.
Obviously.
I bet you it is the Keeper of the Golden Path, which is a 2-drop cultist with 2 terror icons.
That would make a lot of sense, actually. You just resourced a second card.
Mm-hmm.
Going with a balanced approach here of 2/2/1 so far.
Mm-hmm. Probably got 2 2-drops in my hand I want to get out. Yep, good old Temple of Aurelia.
Yep, the Temple of Aurelia, a very strong card.
Sacrifice engine galore.
And...
that is Aziz Chataluka. Aziz's ability is you drain all your undrained domains and sacrifice Aziz to put an Ancient One into play from your hand, and at the end of the turn, the Ancient One goes on top of your deck. And in this case, though, I just fed... I just cleared the board.
You did clear the board, and then you played a
Dreamlands Fanatic.
Good old Dreamlands Fanatic.
When an opponent's character leaves play, Dreamlands Fanatic can pop into play.
Yep.
They're one of the off-faction jumpers in that regard. Anybody can just throw them into play regardless of resources on domains.
It's nice that they don't cost anything.
Right.
The black dog to jump in and out has to. You do have to pay 1 for that.
Right. But they don't care about faction. And I've seen some people argue that jumpers like that really ought to be a little more faction specific.
Steadfast, faction specific. The problem is though is that jumpers like that, maybe not so much the Dreamlands fanatic because his is not quite so situational. But the black dog, I mean, it's if they commit only 1 character to the story, then you can do this. There's a very specific set of circumstances that have to happen. So,
well, I think,
and then it's a dead card in your hand if you're not playing that faction. So,
right, but I think it's a useful card in the beginning, and I think that 1 and only 1 character is a useful limitation on the black dog's utility as the game goes on.
Yes, I believe so too. I just don't feel that it needs to be faction specified. Because it has that drawback.
That's true. I guess I'm thinking mostly of the Master of the Mist because it's just pay 1.
Right. Master of the Mist is a difficult one for that.
And he got restricted because of his popularity, I think. So if he were just 1 silver Twilight resource, everybody would be happy.
Right.
And then Rod throws down a new Tunnel Lurker. I really hope that's the Tunnel Lurker. I'm pretty certain it is.
I'm pretty certain it is. It looks like he's got Terrors in the Dark up at the top of the board.
Yep.
And that is the dreaded Dr. Pepper I just saw. You can exhaust it to quench your thirst.
There's nothing refreshing about Dr. Pepper. I'm gonna make that bold statement.
I really don't know if I want to go into the Dr. Pepper story.
Nope. Nope. Unless you feel like we need to fill time.
I'm just going to put this out there. For people who like Dr. Pepper, stop listening for a second. For those of you who don't care.
By stop listening, you mean skip ahead about 30 seconds.
Right.
You have 30 seconds to tell the story.
For those of you who don't care, take a good whiff of Dr. Pepper next time. It smells like the porta potties at any concert you've ever been to.
Duly noted.
I still drink it.
I have more reason not to drink it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm trying to figure out what to play. Now that I've gone 3-2-1 on my domains, I can play most of the deck. A few beefy characters aside.
A few beefy characters. Well, yeah. I mean, that deck.
And that is Yog-Sothoth. Yog-Sothoth is a cultist who buffs other cultists and himself. I believe so long as there are only Cthulhu faction cards in play.
I think you are correct. With Terrors in the Dark in play, you discarded Carl Stanford to be able to play him.
Right. And did I drop that from my hand or the top of the deck?
See, I thought you dropped it from your hand.
That's because I was misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Like I hadn't really processed that it's a mill effect, not a from hand effect.
Right. Because then you played another card, and okay. So Carl Stanford goes back into your hand. You lost a temple to the first card you played, and then the second card you played, you lost a bone sculptor.
Yep. No, I think that's Henry Anthony.
Was that Henry Anthony?
Yep. It's the HAW.
Oh, yeah.
So Yog-Sothoth is villainous and fast, and when you control no non-Cthulhu cards, he gains a terror icon, and other cultists I control gain an arcane icon.
Gotcha.
So it's a two-pronged benefit.
Right. As discussed in a previous episode, if one of your characters went insane, you would lose that ability.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you're playing Cthulhu and one of your characters goes insane, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Or somebody else is doing terror really right.
Yeah, Yog-Sothoth sort of defends against that. Like, oh no, he doesn't actually grant other cultists terror. Never mind.
No,
really, this deck needs Savio Corvi.
Every deck needs Savio Corvi.
Savio Corvi should be neutral and cost 1.
This is right. This is true. And not have that silly if there's a conspiracy in play.
Right. Just take away the conditional.
Yeah, just take away the conditional. Knight. It is Knight. Savio is immune to non-day card effects. All characters you control. As long as it's Knight, characters you control have a terror icon and fast.
And Savio makes their controller immune to non-day effects.
Yes.
Oh, blank the temple. That was really frustrating. I don't think I was able to recover from a blank temple
That's rough. Yeah.
because I can't play out a new one because it's unique and I can't destroy it.
That was a very emphatic play on Rod's part.
He was psyched by that because that basically shut down the major pressure that I was able to apply to him.
Right.
After that, he could throw down characters with pretty much impunity.
Now, what character did he throw down this time?
I think that's the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth.
Ah, yes, the Wizard of Yog-Sothoth.
I know he's got one.
Yog-Sothoth.
But my recollection is that early in the game, though, he was playing like a night gaunt or a couple different night gaunts.
Oh, I remember vaguely glancing over at this game.
But I think that's the art makes me think that's the wizard.
Yeah, because the Night Gaunts definitely have very distinctive art.
And I can see the row of icons that
Yep.
he gains when it becomes night.
My first taste of the wizard was when we drafted. Actually, I got one for my draft. So.
Oh, you drafted characters in the draft?
Oh yeah, that's right. Because I know how to draft.
Right.
Constructed, I suck. 0-3, but draft, I'll win a draft.
I'm happy to support draft events, but because I need to practice.
I'll definitely have to work on getting more draft events played.
I just feel like I'm not. I don't want to quibble over price. I just feel like they tend to be a little more costly than having just bought the cards.
This is very true. However, it is fun to. Part of the reason I love drafts so much is because I enjoy the actual drafting aspect of it.
Right. And
what cards are going to be in here?
Right. And I was about to say, it's still possible to reuse them, like rebuild a draft set. Then you lose the element of surprise a little bit.
Exactly, because then you're like, oh, that's right, these cards were.
And now I'm just constantly crying as I see all the cards I need disappear into the discard pile, because there's no way to get any of them back.
You need a Satchel of the Void. I understand it's off faction, but
like everything else useful, it's off faction.
Now, what is Carl running around with?
Carl has the sort of Yatala,
Okay,
which grants a terror and a combat for no cost. Beyond, a little bit of steadfast.
you've won a story.
I think that's the only story I won. Pretty sure.
You won a story. Tell them what you're going to do.
Well, in about 20 minutes, I'm going to look back fondly at this point in time.
I remember winning that story.
It was good.
That was a good day. In all fairness, right now, it does appear that you have board control more than
Right.
Rod does.
But Rod's also sort of geared the deck to not need board control per se. He's going to have a major. I shouldn't be giving away what's going to happen, but
he's slowly milling you at this point in time. It seems.
Yeah, and that's the devious night gaunt.
Yeah, that's a night gaunt, definitely.
And as I recall, when it's night, it blanks characters with skill 4 or less.
Right, and the Terrors in the Dark is currently making it night.
Right. Normally it's just 2 or less, 2 skill or less, and then it being night beefs it up.
Right, characters committed to the same story, is it?
Right.
Because if it just blanked all characters, that would be insane.
That'd be a Savio level of brokenness.
Yeah. Of course, it would blank your characters too, which would probably balance it out a little bit more.
What I'm really hearing is that I need a card that blanks Frozen Time. I'm still stuck on Temple, on losing the Temple.
On losing the Temple, yeah.
That was like the major offensive card. There's a couple Deep One Risings in here. Deep One Assaults, rather.
Right.
But they never turned up.
Yeah, it's just, that's rough. And even if you did get rid of that, or if you somehow got rid of the Temple to get rid of it, you've already lost at least one Temple to your graveyard from milling effects. So.
Yeah, and they just continue. Everything good disappeared into the discard pile.
That's how a good mill deck usually works. So.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it was a mill deck, and I knew I needed to be going in hard. My decision at the time was I need to go in fast to move fast against what are probably going to be his limited characters, because he's also busy using mill effects.
Right.
But a couple things worked against me that we'll get into as they come up. Many things worked against me. He had this going on multiple fronts.
What I find very interesting is that having built a mill deck out of your cards before I got my own collection, I focused solely on milling and didn't even really worry about stories. I basically made it a race. Can you place 15 success tokens before I mill 50 cards? Give or take on that, obviously. But here, Rod is committing to stories and getting success tokens on stories.
Well, that's in part because he's got the tunnel worker, which mills based on characters committed.
Right.
But also because I think he's taking the more of a balanced approach where he needs to be one of his delaying tactics is to make committing to stories more difficult than if there were no characters on the board.
Right.
I mean, recently some people have been designing characterless mill decks where it's entirely like stumbling block support cards.
Right.
And so forth. But I think having bodies on the board is
I mean,
a necessary part of it.
Yeah, I had bodies on the board in mine, and you know they could be used for a little bit of defense, but really the main goal was to outrace the other player. And it's a shame we never got any of those put up on here for deck because we had a couple of good matches where you were running a Miskatonic deck, and you know it was a downright race.
Well, we can always go back to that. Those decks still exist.
Do they? I thought you dismantled the deck that I built.
I dismantled the Haster deck.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you didn't dismantle the other one.
Oh, because the Haster deck didn't work.
Oh, that's true.
We saw the mill deck work, like you said.
That's true. The Haster deck didn't work. I'm still going to build a Haster deck that works. I vow.
And we're going to hold you to it.
And one day, 62 years from now, when the Hastur box set finally comes out.
At the rate they're going, it is either going to be December or next summer.
Yeah, and I get that, and I'd like to believe that, but it's Hastur, and I'm pretty sure they're just driving everybody insane.
The most unloved of the factions.
It is by far the most unloved of the factions. I'm actually happy that they just got one of the premium cards was made for Hastur. I was actually very excited about that.
It was Victoria Glasser, right?
Yeah, so Victoria Glasser is one of the newer premium cards, and I was like, yay! It's a Hastur premium card.
And it isn't just Powered Right or Stygian Eye.
Yeah, that's true. And it was, you know, something from the core set, and I thought I was going to break down crying for a little bit there for slides.
So I see the Watcher of Signs and probably a Ruinous. No, it's one cost.
Cthulhu?
Oh, it might be Cthulhu, but it looks like it's one cost with like 4 icons. That doesn't make any sense.
That's a 5.
That's a 5, so it's probably Ruinous Starspawn or Cthulhu. I think. I don't know. I feel like even at this point, I felt like I was just sort of going through the motions. I was not. The cards weren't quite working out, and I'm not trying to be that person who blames the cards. It's just the opportunities were not there, or I was not recognizing opportunities. Let's put it that way. How about that?
I blame the cards for not showing up. I'm not one of those people that blames the cards. All right, you've played another card here.
It was Cthulhu. It's got to be Cthulhu. That's the only thing that looks like that.
Okay. You knew what this card was earlier. I'm not entirely sure.
The Watcher?
Yes, the Watcher. Is that what you played? Yeah. And there goes another card off the top of your deck.
Where is the card that I played?
The one next to Carl Stanford.
Oh.
The character. I have no idea what.
Oh, no, that's Ocelot.
Ocelot. There we go.
Yeah. And I milled a Mariner. Still have not quite parsed out how to work the Mariner.
What does the Mariner do again?
After you commit, you can, or rather, as an action, you can commit the Mariner to a story and drag all uncommitted characters there as well.
Keeps your opponent from having...
After an opponent has committed at least one character to a story, exhaust Mariner to commit it and all uncommitted characters to a single story. At the end of the phase, sacrifice Mariner.
So it's your opponent commits a character to a story, and you go, "Oh, you're trying to keep all those characters on defense because I have crazy stuff going on over here. We're all committing over here to this story.
I guess.
You're going to lose this character and this character and this character." But that's fairly situational, though.
Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely getting exhausted, but
Yeah, I mean, there's something to say about exhausting them, but I think it's more of a you can't save that character by having him stand back there and not do anything.
right, because you have a beefy guy who's about to go in with the Mariner.
Right.
And there goes Ocelot. Oh, right, because Wizard of Yog-Sothoth is all beefed up, and he gained a toughness.
Yeah. Gotta love the wizard.
I am impressed. I had not really considered him previously.
He worked pretty, like I said, he worked pretty good for me in my draft.
Well, the draft pool was kind of tilted to make day and night more of a thing. Did you get to make it night with him?
I did, actually. I actually forced it to be night a lot with my deck. Because, of course, I drafted Savio Corey.
Right. Strongly motivated. And there were conspiracies out the wazoo.
There were conspiracies. They were really pushing the conspiracy aspect in that draft, I noticed. And it actually worked out. As soon as I got Savio, I grabbed a couple other characters that had things that happened if there was a conspiracy in play. And I just started, they were coming around. So I grabbed on-faction conspiracies, I grabbed neutral conspiracies, basically any conspiracy I could grab that was going to help me.
Mm-hmm.
Which helped in the later parts of each deck that we drafted because nobody else was drafting conspiracies. So it actually gave me something useful to draft in those time periods when other people were going,
Yeah, because you knew the conspiracies would come back.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have so much to learn about drafting. Choose. Make a decision.
Do something. We're playing a Blackwood Estate.
Yep. He's getting all his engine pieces together. He's got three, maybe not three, but he's got some definite key support cards. Where Terrors in the Dark is one, Blackmore, for just the coup de grace.
Right.
Although actually, I think in this case there's a different card, the Ritual of Belifar, that is the coup de grace.
Ah, the ritual.
Mm-hmm. Because and this is a poor choice on my part because I'm not really thinking about it as I'm trying to build up to play out costlier characters. That's something to do with the key, seeker of the key seeker, key holder, key keeper.
I say it's not Key Seeker because that's a card I use in my deck that you've
Opener of the Gate.
possibly. That looks to be more the amount of letters. Opener of the Gate, yes. Yes, because on a previous episode of Deck, you can see my Yog-Sothoth. Primarily the Yog-Sothoth deck.
Opener of the Gate. Your monster cards are also spell cards while they're in your hand, deck, or discard pile.
Gotcha.
So this is part of his recursion.
Gug recursion?
Yeah, the idea is
Because the Gugs are monsters, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if they're monsters, but he's got monsters and he wants to be playing using Chant of Thoth and things like that to pull them out of the discard.
Gotcha.
I don't know if it actually happened or if he really needed to worry about it. I just did not have much to pressure him with. And that's why you can't rely on your one restricted card to save the day, kids.
This is very true.
Yeah, and the middle player won a story.
It's just odd.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when Carlo and I have talked about mill decks, he's all about using the silver key.
The silver key, which allows characters that are exhausted to commit to a story, and characters that are not exhausted can't.
Yeah, it flip-flops how characters commit, as I recall.
Yep, and then when a character commits to that story, you unexhaust it. Ready it. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for.
That's the word. Cannot commit to attached story. Exhausted characters can commit. Yep.
I sleeved that card earlier today.
Well done.
So the reason I know, I was doing some sleeving earlier today, and that was one of the cards I sleeved. That's how I'm getting to know the cards so well, is that I buy the cards, I read through the cards. I sleeve the cards, I read through the cards. I file the cards, I read through the cards.
I let myself get distracted by television when I'm doing stuff like that, so it's not quite as instructive.
Oddly enough, I'm usually distracting myself from television when I'm doing things like that. I'm like, I'm watching TV. I already know what's going to happen. I'm kind of bored. What should I do? Oh, I'll sleeve cards.
Mm-hmm. Silly me adding more cards to the domain.
That's right.
And that's Cthulhu. Because I'm trying to get some sacrifice action happening.
Like, I'm going to play Cthulhu.
And there goes the third temple. And I'm bummed.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
The problem with Cthulhu, though, is that she...
It's that or higher.
Right. So if I have just Cthulhu out, there's nothing to take away from Rod. Whereas with Aziz, though, I can at least lose something. It won't be what I want, though. So much deliberation.
Do I sacrifice to make you sacrifice?
Oh, I sacrifice. I sacrifice big time.
And they get to choose what they sacrifice, right? Or do you choose what they sacrifice?
They choose.
All right. Oh. You are committing Cthulhu. You have a success token up there. You want two.
I do. I mean, at least with Cthulhu, it's not like she has to exhaust to use that ability. It's just an action, so...
Right.
Even after he's committed, I can still be like, sacrifice somebody. But...
And now Rod's thinking.
Yeah. I mean, Cthulhu is one of those cards where she's in the deck mainly because I had the Ancient Rites conspiracy to play Ancient Ones for free, and she sounded interesting.
Gotcha.
There's just there's a grab bag of different Ancient Ones in here, like Yig and Cthulhu and Bokrug.
Yig? Really?
Yep.
Huh.
I got Yig. One of the first decks I ever designed was a Serpent deck, and I desperately want it to work.
And I get that, and that's where I figured, be a great place for Yig.
Oh, and this is where I finally admit to myself, I'm never going. Those cards are no longer relevant to me.
Yeah, we're just gonna bury them.
And one of them was the Deep One Assault. I would have loved to have played. Yeah, Yig Serpent deck would have been. Someday I'll make it work.
You can do it. I have faith in you.
Well, I don't know. I tried originally with like a Miskatonic Cthulhu matchup where you used Disguised Threat to turn weenie Miskatonic characters into serpents. Kind of, not really.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just wanted to play like Feathered Serpent for much, much cheaper.
Aren't serpents... Okay, I can understand that. Aren't most of the serpents also cultists?
Some are.
Some are?
But like Feathered Serpent isn't. But there are a lot of cultists. And Double Frozen Time. No, that's not Frozen Time. I don't know what that is.
That is the ritual, I think.
Oh, yeah, because now I'm counting my resources.
Yep.
Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, Ancient Rites.
Ancient Rites. Yay.
Not that I was able to place many tokens this game.
And he's like, you know what, after that, I'm just going to rub salt in the wound and go after this story.
Mm-hmm. It's always something to consider. And now we have it on tape, so we can go back and look. It's like, what could I have done differently?
Not played against this deck.
It's educational. It's instructive. Not that I remember much of the game. But things like multiple ways to destroy shit.
See, it's a good thing you played this game, though. Because at the rate it's going, I don't think you're pulling this one off.
No.
So, this wasn't an official tournament game, so it got you a loss on the day.
Right.
So you could sweep the tournament.
I wonder, though, if I had played my tournament deck against this, would it have been as problematic? Because that does have support destruction. And it has
Probably not.
More effective way. It has multiple ways of destroying characters beyond the temple.
Right.
And something as inefficient as Cthulhu compared to the other options.
Right. Well, blinking a plague stone would be interesting.
That'd be awful. That's generally why I wait until I can play and trigger on the same turn.
Right.
Because anything that just... I'm very wary of people just sort of shotgunning it. Or not, you know what I mean.
Did you just play Cthulhu again?
Yes, I don't know how that happened.
Okay.
Let's admit, this game has just gone beyond all our ability to understand.
Oh!
Yeah, I just was not panning out.
It's Cthulhu.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you at home who don't recognize cards by sight like we sometimes do.
This is Cthulhu the Sleeper Below, who's dormant and is totally awesome to just play out and trigger.
Yes. And part of the reason why my tournament deck included Carl Stanford to keep you from being able to play him. But then I never ran up against anybody who was playing him, so
yeah,
moot point in the end.
In our tiny little meta, dormant has only not been super popular.
No, but I hate playing against this deck, so... This is another deck that if you want to retire it, I'm okay with it.
I want to make it better. Like, it needs to be refined and improved. Like, this is mostly just the sample core deck.
Fair enough.
But there's definite improvements to make.
So once you improve it, you have like 2 months worth of playing it before I get officially frustrated and I see Cthulhu get resourced and I go, no, that's it, I quit.
Duly noted.
I'll let you have a couple months worth of playing because we don't play all the time, but...
I have to make the time to actually design a deck. I have a hard time sitting down to design a deck. I tend to, once I find a deck that it works, I tend to stick with it.
There's that. Since you're going to be pulling apart your tournament deck.
Am I?
That's what you said.
I said that, but am I?
In the previous episode of Deck, you claimed you were going to be doing this.
Yeah, I made a claim. It's not having done it.
What's the Matter You has just come into play.
Oh, that guy.
I recognize that artwork from a mile away.
Yeah, it's very distinctive.
That was the first card I ever gave a nickname to.
Mm-hmm.
What's the Matter You?
This is one of the few Gugs remaining in the deck, I think.
Yeah, and he's a good one because he's a decking Gug. Because that's why I remember him so fondly, is because he was in that deck I built that decked things.
He's a beefy defender and he decks.
That's right. And he's a Gug that's not something Gug.
Right.
Those are the cards I like. Like I like the Migos that aren't something Migo. Or Migo something.
Right. But that's most of them, though. There are very, very few that aren't Amigo something. That's sort of their thing, is that they are all alike in the end, after they have all given themselves each other icons. And this was just...
Desperation.
Doing the math of... Because at least the Night Gaunt cannot blank Cthulhu.
This is true.
But that's about the only thing, because I'm pretty certain... Yeah.
You just prevented it from being unopposed.
Oh, I think that was... what? I'm completely lost.
As to why Cthulhu just disappeared?
Yeah, I went on top of the deck.
It's that Night Gaunt.
Is it the Night Gaunt that does that?
It's gotta be. It's the only thing on his side of the board that could possibly be doing that.
Because I don't think it's because she came out through Aziz.
Right.
Nope, Night Gaunt blanks.
Both of them?
Oh, that's Tenebrous Night Gaunt. Choose and return a character he controls to the top of the owner's deck.
There you go.
It's Tenebrous Night Gaunt, not Devious Night Gaunt.
He plays the Devious in the deck. He plays them both.
Yep.
Dormant card. That's right, mill player. You want to keep coming after me, you're going to deal with the Dormant.
I do think a mill deck would benefit from making use of the environments that slow down placing tokens. Like Yog-Sothoth has the Abyssal Chasm, for instance.
Right. I think they would too. I mean, when I was racing, I was usually coming out just barely ahead or just barely losing. So anything to slow that down and give me a little bit more of an advantage would definitely be worth it.
And it's going to hang around. I mean, I know it's an attachment. It'll eventually disappear, but it does hang around for a little bit.
Right. That was a Blackmoor Estate mill that just hit you.
Yeah, because with the cards Rod has, he can not only mill based on how many resources he's attached to a domain with the estate.
But how many you've attached with the... See, that was always the problem every time, because I had that card too, the
Ritual of Belifar.
the Ritual of Belifar. I had that card in my deck as well. But whenever I played you, you were always playing like Miskatonic.
Right.
And you top out at 3, so
Right.
it was never worth it for me to really play it, because it's like, oh wow, mill 3 cards. That really wasn't worth it. It's not like now where it's, mill 6. Okay, that's actually...
And now you can see we're basically 1 mill away from being done.
Yeah.
Like he can just
Yeah,
keep
he just
his
played another
characters ready.
Gug.
He can just keep them all ready and stick.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see the argument where people would say, well, playing against a mill deck isn't fun. But this matchup at least did not feel wholly interactive.
Right. Well, and that's because Rod has definitely built a deck that, well, primarily a mill deck, still sticks to I'm going to try to win stories at times.
Right, but he's also incorporated elements that are sort of negating of traditional elements of the game.
Right.
Like the Night Gaunt takes away characters. And that's still the Tenebrous Night Gaunt, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm clearly confusing the art. Because, Tenebrous is a little less problematic than Devious, where it just blanks the card.
Right. All right, we've just won another story. Looks like we're going to trigger this. You still got that dormant card sitting there.
Yep.
I don't know what story it was that he's looking to...
I think it's Come the Dream Time.
Fair enough.
And this is From the Depths.
From the Depths.
Which
There's
is
all
actually
7 cards left in your deck.
Yeah, which is actually a really poor play at this point. Because it just makes the deck that much shorter.
So he's looking to return Cthulhu to the top of the deck.
Yeah, this is something I've been thinking about earlier. I was like, what's the timing on playing a dormant card versus response timing for
Right.
things like the Night Gaunt?
What's really interesting is that Cthulhu should have gone to the top of your deck, and then Cthulhu should have been...
One of the 5.
No, Cthulhu should have been burned off from Terrors in the Dark.
Ah.
And then it should have been the next 5 cards after that.
Well, would it though? Or is Cthulhu part of the 5 and then the response of terrors happens after the action of From the Depths?
Possibly.
Because I think you still have to complete the action before
When you play a
take
card.
forced
So,
reaction.
yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, because it's not a forced disrupt. If it was a forced disrupt, then it would have milled first. So you're right.
That would be a radical new exploration of the play space.
Forced disrupt?
You're right.
Yeah. Although, there's a lot of things I think if they were worded as forced disrupts would make the game a lot smoother.
Yeah, remembering to do stuff until you're allowed to do it is troublesome.
So you're not on to... You've got a host of things on the table, including the Bokrug.
And 2 cards in the deck.
Yeah, Bokrug, Cthulhu, 2 cards in the deck.
I'm just waiting for Rod to... His Blackmore is refreshed, from what I can see, if that's it at the top.
Yeah, it is, up at the very top.
Yeah, so we could just be done right now. I don't know why I'm deliberating.
Yeah,
Probably because I haven't realized that he's got an open domain. Because you can still mill out if you can't discard, right? It's not just trying to draw and can't.
No. You have to be trying to draw and can't.
Oh, okay.
That was actually either at the very end of your game or just after this game was over. That was a question that you guys asked me.
Okay. Oh, look, a Watcher of Signs.
You just burned another card.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to burn the last card.
Yeah, I think it was a go for broke attempt.
Yeah.
I wanted to get a story or
a second story because you've
whatever
already
it
won
was.
one. Yep.
It's like, how many cards can I play?
I think and this is where it's coming up. I think he's pointing at the estate, going, "Well, I could force you to drain cards, and since you can't."
play it out. We'll see what's going to happen. That's
Yeah.
usually my mindset. We all know what's going to happen. You should go over to the pub and have a beer.
That's a good idea. Yummy pub food.
And then we wound up doing that.
We did. After all of this, Tyler and I went to the Salt Hill pub.
It was pretty good.
I managed not to have a heart attack.
So while these two guys, so while I and Rod are sort of debating on how we're
These two guys, these two random people.
we are debating on how we're going to end this game that's a foregone conclusion, unless we've segued into a conversation about Supernatural. I'd like to invite everybody to visit youtube.com/deckedshow to check out more videos. You should subscribe while you're there. You should leave some comments. Let us know what you think. Vote your favorite games that you want to see played, or let us know what decks you might want to see played, things like that. And meanwhile, Ray, I'd like to thank you, perhaps a little early because the game's still going on, but thanks for coming on to the show.
Yeah, something's going on over here. You're sacrificing stuff and
Using Cthulhu to sacrifice characters is what I'm doing.
gotcha.
That's what's happening.
Hands flying all over the place, and it's the most action we've seen all game.
Very fervent gesturing.
Yes, very fervent gesturing.
I think what I'm doing is just trying. I've already recognized the math is not going to work in my favor, and I cannot get rid of the Night Gaunt.
Right.
Because it's going to be the last standing character.
Right. You're like, was this in play before? Was this the last card I milled? I don't remember. It's all a blur.
I just remember the days when I had a deck.
This is my deck. I'm just playing with my top card and second and third and fourth and all the way down to the bottom revealed. Works out really well. This is really exciting. I apologize to the viewers at home. This is
No apologies. No apologies.
we've hit some dead air here. So yes, I also encourage people to subscribe.
I mean, I think you would acknowledge that it has changed your life to be subscribed.
Yes, it has changed my life to be subscribed.
You get notifications.
That's right. I get notifications, and it's a good way to kill some time in the morning. When I'm eating
Kill some
breakfast.
time.
Yeah, I watch the videos while I'm
Kill
eating
some
breakfast.
time.
Kill some time. That's right. Listen,
see how it is.
I've played in most of these games, and then I record them.
It's true, but this is new for you. This is a new experience.
It is a new experience, and you know what? This is my.
It's almost like you're scouting his deck.
It is almost like I'm scouting his deck. That's very true. Did you hear that, Rod? If you're watching this, I know what's coming next time I play you.
And I actually used the Mariner
You used the Mariner.
to throw a bunch of people over on a different story because reasons. I mean, really, I should have done it the other way around.
Put Cthulhu over here and throw everybody over there.
Actually, somehow I got Bokrug into play.
You did. Bokrug was one of the...
That was from the depths.
from the depths, yeah.
Yep.
Yay for the Bokrug. What does the Bokrug do?
He can't be blanked.
Oh, he can't be
He's
blanked.
got some toughness.
And I do believe that is the official wrapping up of the game.
And then he's like, and then I mill you.
Yes, and then I pass my turn, and then it's your turn, and you die.
Yep. And that's it. And now, again, thanks everybody for watching. Ray, thanks for coming by and chatting while we go through this ignominy.
Yes, not a problem. This is much easier to do when I played one of the decks, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But still fun nonetheless. So.
Yeah, I think it's more about asking questions then.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks very much. Everybody, come to youtube.com/deckshow and check it out.